I think they used the land perfect.
Beauty.
It is the low one, peeling it up the...
They saved his ass, but Pat Perez might have exposed how golf really protects its biggest names. For years, people called him loud, bitter, and out of line. They said he talked too much. They said he was not good enough to speak up. But maybe Perez was not just complaining. Maybe he saw something the rest of golf wanted to hide. In January 2026, the PGA Tour quietly brought him back. The man golf tried to push away was suddenly useful again. And if you like stories where golf's quiet rules finally get exposed, give this video hype so more fans can see what Perez was really pointing at. The timing was not random. Perez turned 50 in March 2026. That made him fresh meat for the PGA Tour champions, the senior tour where older stars still draw a crowd. There was one catch. His suspension from PGA Tour events ran until January 1st, 2027. So he could not play normal Champions Tour events in 2026. But senior major championships are run by outside groups, not the tour. That opened a door. He played the 2026 Senior PGA Championship in April at Concession Golf Course. He had not touched a club in nearly 9 months. During his 2025 broadcasting job, he put the game down and focused on talking, not playing. Most players would rust badly after a break like that. Perez did not. He shot 4 straight rounds at par or better on a hard course. He finished tied for 5th. The man they wrote off came back and proved he could still play. That result was not luck. It was a quiet answer to everyone who said he was done. To understand why this matters, you have to understand who Perez was. He was a 3-time PGA Tour winner, but he was never golf's clean corporate speaker. He did not sound like a media-trained superstar. He was blunt. He was rough. He did not always say things softly, to a sport that loved clean images that made him dangerous. Because Perez said out loud what many people only whispered. And in golf, saying the quiet part out loud can get you punished. Here's the big idea. Golf's biggest stars were not treated like everyone else. The media, the sponsors, the TV networks, and the tours all had reasons to keep them looking like heroes. The research points to 6 protected names. Tiger Woods was treated as the money center of modern golf. When his body broke down and he withdrew from events, the media framed it as a brave fight, not as decline. Rory McIlroy became the moral voice of the PGA Tour during the war with LIV. His long major drought got soft treatment. Jordan Spieth slumped for years, but broadcasters wrapped it in hope and nostalgia. Jon Rahm, before he left for LIV, had a hot temper that was called passion. Justin Thomas had slumps and sponsor problems, but still got prime airtime and gentle framing. Will Zalatoris had back injuries and putting trouble, but was sold as a loyal young star. 6 men, 1 shield around all of them. And the shield was not an accident. It was built to protect money, image, and the people at the top. Now go back to 2017. Tiger Woods withdrew from the Dubai Desert Classic after shooting an opening 77. Perez said something most people would not. He said Woods knew he could not beat anybody at that point. He said Woods was playing to keep his name relevant for his new business projects. Not because he thought he could win. The media did not calmly debate it. They went after Perez instead. Brandel Chambly, a former golfer turned analyst, dismissed Perez. He pointed at Perez's smaller career resume, as if a smaller resume meant Perez had no right to speak. The point Perez made got buried under attacks on Perez himself. He later clarified he was a Tiger fan and said his words were taken out of context. Here's the key part. Perez did not hate Tiger. He challenged the shield around Tiger, and the shield fought back. Then look at Rory McIlroy. During the LIV fight, Rory became the public defender of the PGA Tour. He was framed as the voice of reason and the protector of golf tradition. Meanwhile, his long major drought got little harsh treatment. This is not about hating Rory. Rory is a great player. The point is the double standard. Some players were allowed to be moral leaders. Other players were called greedy or selfish for making different choices. Perez saw that gap clearly. He saw who got to be the hero and who got to be the villain. Phil Mickelson is the sharpest example. For years, the media protected Phil's friendly lefty image because that image made money. Then things changed. The rift between Perez and Mickelson goes back to a 2015 incident at the Barclays tournament at Liberty National. According to an afterword in Alan Shipnuck's biography of Mickelson, Phil allegedly showed Perez's wife, Ashley, an offensive photo of himself while Perez was away from the table. Perez said Phil crossed a line that was unforgivable. Mickelson's representatives denied the claims, and Perez later declined to comment further. So treat that part as alleged. But here's what matters most. For years, that story stayed quiet. The media protected Phil. Then Phil left for LIV, and his loyalty to the PGA Tour broke. After that, damaging stories about Phil started to surface. The protection did not weaken because Phil changed. It weakened because his loyalty changed. But do not think the PGA Tour was the only one playing this game. Both sides controlled the story. On the PGA Tour side, the punishment was suspension. After Perez finished 48th in the 2024 LIV season, he was dropped as a player and took a broadcasting role for LIV in 2025. Even though he was just calling matches, the tour used that broadcasting work to extend his suspension, and the tour never publicly explained the full details, hiding behind a policy of not commenting on discipline. That kept players from arguing in public about whether the punishment was fair. LIV did the same thing in its own way. LIV promised to be open and modern. It was not. At a 2023 press conference in Australia, Perez said, "We don't give a damn how he feels about PGA Tour boss Jay Monahan." The quote was first wrongly tied to Dustin Johnson, and Johnson's agent denied it. LIV later confirmed Perez had spoken. Then LIV simply removed the whole exchange from the official transcript. They admitted they wanted to avoid that kind of hostility. Then, in 2025, podcaster Bill Hobson asked Perez about Saudi funding and sports washing. Perez actually answered the questions, but LIV's team demanded Hobson cut those parts out. When he refused, LIV revoked his media credentials. LIV claimed Perez was livid about being ambushed. But Perez's private texts reportedly said the opposite. So Perez exposed a bigger truth. Every side says it wants honesty, until honesty becomes bad for business. Now return to 2026, where the story flips. Perez was reinstated in January, but he was not alone. Brooks Koepka, Hudson Swafford, and Kevin Na came back too. And here, the double standard showed up again. Elite major winners like Koepka got the returning member program, a clear and public path back. Journeymen like Perez got the non-member policy, where the punishment stayed private and hidden. Same return. Two very different tracks. Then Perez turned 50 in March. Suddenly his future on the Champions Tour mattered, because senior golf needs names that fans recognize. Steve Stricker, an 8-time Champions Tour winner, admitted as much. He said players like Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, and Pat Perez would be hits on the Champions Tour, and that the tour could use that. Think about what that means. The same sport that suspended Perez, that let analysts tear him down, that hid the details of his punishment, now wants his name back, not because they suddenly agreed with him, because his personality draws fans, and fans always bring money in. The man they tried to push out became the man they needed. That is the whole game in one story. Ideas about loyalty and tradition bend fast when the cash is on the table. So what do we make of Pat Perez? He was messy, he was blunt, he made people mad. He picked fights, and he did not always win them. He lost some battles badly. He is not a perfect hero, and this is not a story that pretends he was. But he was useful in a way few players were. He showed how protected golf can really be. He made fans stop and ask hard questions. Who gets saved when they struggle? Who gets punished for speaking up? And who gets quietly called the problem just for telling the truth? Those questions do not have clean answers, but Perez forced people to ask them anyway. He held up a mirror to a sport that hates looking at itself. The game is built on a clean and proper image. Perez showed the cracks under that image. He showed that the rules can bend, that the story can be quietly edited, and that loyalty can be bought back when the price is right. That is why his voice mattered, even when it made everyone uncomfortable. Pat Perez did not just call out golfers, he called out the system that saved them.